Sir Michael Caine stands as one of those rare figures whose presence feels familiar across generations, not because he chased fame, but because he carried truth into every role. His performances never relied on excess or spectacle. Instead, they rested on honesty, restraint, and lived experience. From his early days in British cinema to his later global recognition, he brought a grounded humanity that audiences immediately trusted. There was always something reassuring in his voice and posture, as though he had already walked through life's harder roads before stepping onto any set. He never tried to become someone else for the screen. He simply arrived as himself, shaped by real streets, real work, and real emotion. That authenticity became his signature. While awards and acclaim followed, they never defined him. What truly set him apart was consistency, humility, and an unspoken understanding of people. His journey reminds us that lasting impact is built slowly, through patience, craft, and quiet resilience. Growing up with limited comfort. Born Maurice Joseph Micklewhite, Jr. In London in 1933, Michael Caine entered a world where comfort was scarce and stability uncertain. His father worked long hours at the fish market, while his mother took cleaning jobs wherever she could find them, both doing everything possible to keep their family afloat. Their home was modest, and privacy was rare, but there was dignity in effort, and love and persistence. Childhood taught him early lessons about responsibility and awareness. He learned to observe people closely, noticing how they spoke, moved, and coped with everyday pressures. These early impressions stayed with him for life. Rather than feeling defined by limitation, he absorbed strength from it. His upbringing gave him emotional clarity and a deep respect for working people. Those formative years quietly shaped the actor he would become, grounding him in realism and teaching him that character is built not through comfort, but through endurance and empathy. Learning early about change. Like many children of his generation, Michael experienced sudden change at a young age. Daily routines were often interrupted, families were separated for periods of safety, and familiar neighborhoods evolved quickly. These experiences encouraged adaptability and inner focus. Instead of becoming hardened, he became observant, thoughtful, and emotionally precise. He learned that life rarely stays still and that resilience often begins in silence. This early exposure to uncertainty helped him develop patience and perspective. He didn't dramatize hardship later in life. He simply acknowledged it as part of the human story. These moments taught him how quickly circumstances can shift and how important it is to remain steady through transition. Long before acting entered his life, he was already learning how to listen, how to wait, and how to carry himself with quiet composure. Those skills would later become essential tools in both his career and personal life. Entering adulthood. Without shortcuts. Formal education ended early for Michael, not from lack of ability, but from necessity. Like many young people in working families, he stepped into employment simply because survival required it. He took on a variety of jobs, learning discipline through routine and humility through effort. Each role, however small, reinforced the value of consistency. During these years, he continued observing people, studying character in everyday settings, and absorbing life lessons no classroom could teach. Military service later added structure, responsibility, and a deeper sense of perspective. When he returned, there was no celebration waiting, only the expectation to keep moving forward. These experiences stripped away any illusion of instant success. What replaced it was something stronger, persistence without complaint, and ambition guided by realism. Long before recognition arrived, he had already learned how to stand on his own feet. A breakthrough that felt earned. The mid-1960s marked a turning point when films like Zulu and Alfie introduced audiences to something refreshingly genuine. Michael Caine brought a new kind of leading man to British cinema, someone who spoke plainly and carried depth without pretense. His success felt earned because it reflected years of preparation. Recognition arrived quickly, along with demanding schedules and growing expectations. While fame brought opportunity, it also required stamina. He worked continuously, learning how to balance visibility with self-awareness. Rather than becoming swept away by attention, he remained focused on craft. These early breakthroughs showed that audiences connected not just with his talent, but with his sincerity. He represented people who rarely saw themselves centered on screen. That sense of representation became one of his lasting contributions, proving that authenticity could carry just as much power as glamour. Navigating the weight of success. With success came pressure, and Michael never pretended otherwise. Long filming schedules, public attention, and creative demands sometimes blurred together. There were moments of doubt, periods when critics questioned his choices, and times when the future felt uncertain. Instead of resisting these cycles, he accepted them as part of a long career. He understood that momentum naturally rises and falls. His return to critical acclaim with films like Educating Rita reminded him that renewal is always possible. What mattered most was staying open to growth. He approached each role with professionalism, whether the project was large or small. This attitude protected him from becoming trapped by reputation alone. By allowing himself to begin again when needed, he built longevity. His journey shows that success is not about maintaining perfection, but about meeting each phase of life with adaptability and courage. Building emotional maturity. Over time, behind the professional milestones were deeply personal lessons. Early relationships unfolded during financially uncertain years, when ambition and survival often competed for attention. Like many young couples under pressure, those chapters were shaped by learning and adjustment. Over time, reflection replaced reaction. Experience softened edges that youth had sharpened. Later in life, partnership became a source of calm rather than conflict. His marriage to Shakira Caine brought balance, humor, and grounding, offering stability after years of constant movement. Together, they built a relationship rooted in mutual respect rather than public image. Family life gradually became a place of reconnection and warmth. Michael often spoke about learning emotional awareness later than he would have liked, but he embraced that growth with humility. His story reminds us that maturity is not tied to age alone, but to willingness to listen, adapt, and evolve. Friendship, loss, and perspective. Over decades in the industry, Michael formed close bonds with collaborators and friends who shared long chapters of his life. Inevitably, time brought farewells. Rather than retreating inward, he spoke openly about loss and remembrance. These experiences deepened his appreciation for connection. He learned to carry memory with gratitude instead of heaviness. Each goodbye reinforced the importance of presence, encouraging him to value people while they are here. This perspective shaped his later years, influencing both his performances and personal priorities. He understood that relationships, not achievements, ultimately define a life. Grief became a quiet teacher, guiding him toward patience and compassion. His reflections never leaned toward bitterness. Instead, they emphasized appreciation for shared moments. Through these experiences, he demonstrated that strength does not come from avoiding sorrow, but from learning how to walk alongside it with dignity. Becoming Alfred to a new generation. For many younger audiences, Michael Caine became unforgettable through his role as Alfred Pennyworth in the Dark Knight trilogy. His portrayal offered warmth, wisdom, and understated humor, grounding the larger story in emotional reality. Alfred was not just a supporting character, he was a moral anchor, and Michael brought that role to life with remarkable restraint. He gave the character depth through subtle gestures and thoughtful pauses rather than grand speeches. This performance introduced him to an entirely new generation, proving that relevance does not fade with time. Instead of trying to appear youthful, he embraced experience. His Alfred reflected decades of understanding about loyalty, care, and quiet guidance. The role became another example of how Michael approached acting, with respect for story, connection to humanity, and unwavering professionalism. Choosing simplicity over noise. As the years passed, Michael gradually stepped back from constant work. This was not withdrawal, but choice. He embraced a quieter rhythm that prioritized presence over productivity. Reading, conversation, and shared meals became more meaningful than packed schedules. Public appearances became fewer, guided by comfort rather than obligation. He spoke candidly about aging, treating it not as something to resist, but as a natural stage requiring adaptation. Physical changes arrived, as they do for everyone, yet his sense of identity remained steady. He showed that stepping back does not mean disappearing. Instead, it can mean making space for reflection. In a world driven by visibility, his approach offered a different model, one where value is measured by depth rather than output. His later years reflect contentment shaped by perspective, gratitude, and thoughtful presence, staying connected to his roots. Despite global recognition, Michael never distanced himself from his working-class beginnings. He spoke openly about where he came from and carried those experiences with pride. His background informed his worldview, reminding him to treat everyone with respect, regardless of status. Younger actors often noted his generosity on set and his willingness to share practical advice. He believed in preparation, punctuality, and kindness, seeing these qualities as marks of professionalism. Rather than presenting himself as untouchable, he remained approachable. His story resonated because it showed that success does not require abandoning origins. Instead, it can be built upon them. By staying connected to his roots, he offered representation to people who rarely saw their own lives reflected in leading roles. His journey quietly affirmed that authenticity is not something to outgrow. Teaching through example. Michael Caine's influence extends beyond performances into the way he carried himself. He demonstrated that consistency matters more than spectacle, and that respect for colleagues builds lasting careers. He often emphasized preparation as a form of courtesy, showing up ready not just for himself, but for everyone involved. His approach to acting was practical, grounded, and generous. Rather than framing success as competition, he viewed it as collaboration. Many emerging artists found guidance in his straightforward wisdom. He reminded them that rejection is part of the process and that patience pays off over time. His legacy includes countless quiet lessons passed along through example rather than instruction. By staying humble and dependable, he modeled a sustainable path in an unpredictable industry. That steady influence continues to shape how many think about craft, longevity, and professional integrity. Understanding time differently. With age came a new relationship to time. Michael learned to appreciate slower mornings, unhurried conversations, and moments of stillness. He spoke about valuing quality over quantity, choosing meaningful engagement rather than constant activity. Reflection replaced urgency. He became more selective about commitments, guided by comfort and connection. This shift did not diminish him. It clarified what mattered most. Time became something to savor rather than chase. He approached each day with gratitude, aware that every chapter holds its own gifts. His outlook offers reassurance in a culture that often fears slowing down. He showed that fulfillment can deepen with age, and that purpose does not vanish when schedules lighten. Instead, it often becomes clearer. Redefining what success looks like. For Michael Caine, success was never just about box office numbers or awards. While those achievements mattered, they did not define his sense of worth. He measured success in stability, relationships, and personal growth. He valued the ability to provide for family, maintain friendships, and remain curious about the world. His long career demonstrated that fulfillment evolves. Early goals centered on opportunity and security. Later priorities shifted toward balance and peace. This progression reflects a broader truth about life. What we seek changes as we grow. Michael embraced those changes with openness. His story encourages us to reconsider narrow definitions of achievement and recognize that true success often lies in contentment, connection, and quiet confidence. A legacy built on humanity. Michael Caine's lasting impact lies in how he made people feel seen. Through characters drawn from everyday life, he brought working-class experiences into mainstream storytelling. He showed that strength can be gentle and that authority can coexist with warmth. His performances carried emotional honesty that resonated across cultures. Beyond the screen, his conduct reinforced those values. He remained respectful, thoughtful, and grounded, even as recognition grew. Younger generations continue to discover his work, finding relevance in its sincerity. His legacy is not just cinematic, it is personal. He demonstrated that kindness and consistency leave deeper marks than spectacle. By staying true to himself, he created a body of work that feels timeless. Embracing life as it comes today, Michael Caine lives surrounded by the comforts he earned and the relationships he treasures. His days unfold at a gentler pace, shaped by reading, conversation, and shared moments. He remains engaged with the world, thoughtful about change, and grateful for the path he traveled. Though no longer defined by constant motion, he remains deeply connected to meaning. His life reflects acceptance rather than resistance, showing that peace often arrives through understanding. He approaches each season with calm appreciation, aware that every chapter has value. His journey illustrates that growth does not end with youth. Instead, it continues through reflection, adaptation, and presence. Lessons from a long journey. Michael Caine's story offers lessons that reach far beyond cinema. It reminds us that beginnings do not limit outcomes, and that persistence matters more than speed. He showed how to move forward without denying where you came from. His life demonstrates that resilience can be quiet, that progress is rarely straight, and that fulfillment often arrives gradually. Through discipline, humility, and emotional openness, he built something lasting. His experiences encourage patience in uncertain moments and gratitude in peaceful ones. Above all, he teaches that staying human is more important than appearing impressive. Endurance over brilliance. While talent opened doors, endurance kept them open. Michael's career was shaped by showing up, staying curious, and continuing even when confidence wavered. He accepted change rather than fearing it, understanding that every phase carries its own opportunities. This mindset allowed him to evolve across decades without losing authenticity. His story reinforces that brilliance alone is rarely enough. What sustains a life is commitment, adaptability, and self-respect. By embracing the long view, he created space for renewal and growth. His example encourages us to value consistency and perseverance in our own journeys. A life lived with intention. In reflecting on Michael Caine's life, what stands out most is intention. Each chapter, whether defined by struggle or success, was met with awareness and effort. He did not rush through experiences or cling to the past. Instead, he moved forward thoughtfully, learning along the way. His journey reminds us that becoming whole is not a single achievement, but a lifelong process. Through patience, honesty, and connection, he built a life rich in meaning. His greatest role was never confined to a screen. It was the ongoing practice of living with dignity, compassion, and quiet strength.